So I wanted to kind of share with you some personal things about me and also some reflections on where we stand at this moment. Because I honestly feel that for some of the people here who live in Fort Bragg, I'm part of the problem. Because I came here in 2002. And in 2002, I was living in San Francisco and had an incredible opportunity to get a job in Ukiah. I didn't even know where Ukiah was in 2002, but got an amazing job with the California Teachers Association over in Ukiah. And then I looked all over everywhere since the job was all of Lake and Mendocino County, where does one live if you're going to be working with teachers all over two counties? And after multiple trials and parking an RV in different places, I really felt that the place to be was Fort Bragg. Because I can get anywhere from Fort Bragg. And love being here. So we moved here in 2002. And I know that for a lot of people that was a really difficult time because that was the year, I think it was 2002 or maybe 2001 when the closing of the mill started happening. I think when we got here there were still 200 people who worked at the mill, but the writing was on the wall. That was also a time when the fishing industry was kind of reeling from different changes and things that were happening in terms of regulation that changed the whole fishing economy as well. So when I was teaching U.S. history back before I came here, I taught U.S. history for a number of years, and I used to focus with my students on what was happening in 1840. In 1840, all across the country, everything got turned on its head. How you communicated with each other, how you moved from place to place, how you made your living, everything got turned upside down. And I used to teach with my students when they were sort of in and around 98, 2000, that they were living in the exact same time. When how you communicated with people, how you got from place to place, how you made your living was completely different, and they were living in the same time as those people in 1840. But I think here in Fort Bragg it got compounded even more because not only were there those global kind of changes happening, but things were massively changing here. And then here were those of us who were coming here, which is maybe a lot of us in this room, who came here to this really amazing, terrific, wonderful, beautiful place, but at a time that turned everything on its head for the people who were already living here. And it's a really difficult thing. So I'm interested in that this whole change our name thing, it's not about just changing our name. It's about a deep cultural, emotional, physical, family kind of orientation that's really difficult for the people who have been here. Like one teacher I met at Fort Bragg High School, his family has been here for 4 generations, I think. And his son can't stay here because he can't figure out how to make a living, so his son had to leave. You know, this is a really, really, really difficult time because everything is changing. So I'm interested, though, in what that means for the full population of the city, because I looked at some census data for Fort Bragg. And the last figures I saw were the estimates for 2022. And at that time, we had 6,881 people living here in Fort Bragg. And interesting that by April of 2020, that had dropped 1,000 people, which is substantial in a community this size. But the ethnic breakdown of the population, I think, is really interesting because it breaks it down into people who have self-identified as white, black, Native American, Asian, people who have identified with 2 or more different ethnicities, cultural heritages, and people who've identified in Hispanic. And when I did the math, looking at all those numbers, what popped out at me is that there are 42% of the people who live in Fort Bragg who self-identify as non-white. And I don't know if that feels like, whoa, because I think the perception of the community is that it's an overwhelmingly white community, but it's actually not. It's much more diverse than maybe a lot of people kind of recognize. And that what, to me, is really huge is that looking at the age distribution of that population, about 25% of the population is 18 or younger. So when I did the math, that means that there are over 700 kids living in this community who are not white. And I've had a number of friends that I've talked with about what does it mean to be Black, Native American, Hispanic in a predominantly, what perceives itself to be a predominantly white community. And a friend of mine was talking to me about what microaggressions feel like. When there are little things, unintentional maybe, little things that get said, that get demonstrated, that are like, you know, death by 1,000 cuts. That every single day somebody says something, does something that feels harmful, hurtful to a child. And that's kind of where we are. We have, understandably, a community that is kind of reeling with all the changes and is having a really hard time coming to grips with the fact that this place will never be the place that they grew up in. It just can't go back. And so all those Fort Bragg Forever signs that you see everywhere, to me, that's kind of a cry for help. Because I miss the community that I grew up in and I wanted to come back and it never will. But at the same time, there are 700 kids who are feeling all of those knife cuts on almost a daily basis. And to me, the worst one is to live in a place where people are telling you, we don't care what this feels like to you. We don't care that, what does it feel like to be living in a place that it's okay to be named after someone like Braxton Bragg. That it's okay to be named after a place that has the massive, massive, horrible things that happened at that fort. That that's okay. And that me, as a child, what it feels like to me really doesn't matter because it's more important that the grandparents, whoever were here before, that we want to remember who graduated from Fort Bragg High School. I mean, that's huge. So one of my favorite things out there, I am a big Matthew McConaughey fan. And I don't know if you guys know him. But I discovered him with the original movie, which I think was his first one that he kind of, people paid attention to, which was Amistad, when he played the attorney that represented the African who was responsible for the mutiny of the Amistad and went to the Supreme Court and the whole deal. But Matthew McConaughey was born and raised in Texas and is a big gun owner. Always has had lots of guns, loves to hunt, loves the whole Texas thing. And I remember seeing a video of him speaking to a group about gun control. Talking about, you know, this is who I am, I love all this stuff, and you know what, guys, and talking to a group of people who are gun owners, we need to take it for the team on this one. Because all of the death and the things that were happening because of the lack of gun control, as much as he loved it, grew up with it, all that kind of stuff, we need to take it for the team. And so I guess my appeal to the community is understanding completely the kind of lack of steadiness, of unsettledness, of the changes in the community, that I get it. I get it that it feels really bad to change the name of Fort Bragg High School, but we kind of need to take it for the team, for the sake of those 700 kids, that we need to stand up for them and say that you matter, and what you feel is more important than me and my weirdness about whether or not my grandfather graduated from Fort Bragg High School. I don't know where I am on my 10 minutes.
You got another minute if you want.
Okay. No, well, I think I said what I wanted to say.
You said what you want to say. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.